Hello and welcome to Asia Gaming Brief's face-to-face series. Today I'm joined by Jim Preston, who is a product director with Scientific Games. We're going to be doing something rather different than our normal range of interviews in that we're going to be discussing the experience of going through quarantine in Macau, which of course has some of the most stringent restrictions of anywhere in the world. Thanks for joining us today, Jim. It's great to see you. I think as we were explaining, we wanted to do something a little bit different with today's interview because we know that you have just experienced Macau's notorious quarantine procedures. You went on a trip. So we just wanted to hear a bit from you about your experiences and what you might tell anybody else who has to do this.
Yeah, thanks, Sharon. Thanks for having me. Look, I knew it was coming from the outset when we had to leave some 14 months ago. We knew we had to come back to some sort of quarantine. How that would look in terms of the wonderful accommodation, what sort of freedoms, what sort of food we would enjoy, we just never knew. It was always up in the air. So initially we were able to book the Lisboeta. And my wife had done that previously earlier on the year in August. And it was a new hotel, so everything was brand new. It was a decent size. That's where I was booked. So I was flying out to November 30, and that's where I was booked to go. Then my flight from Singapore to Macau got pushed to December 1. And about a week before I was about to fly out, that's when the government changed the rules and said anyone flying in from Singapore will stay at the lovely Treasure Hotel for 21 days. So Lisboeta, gone. Here we go, Treasure Hotel. So madly Googling the Treasure Hotel to find out what sort of, what I'm up for 21 days. Very little information. My friends going, geez, it doesn't look good. This is what food they serve. So you're really helping the situation. So I land in Singapore, jump on a plane, we hit the tarmac in Macau. We're all just waiting around on the aeroplane. And we probably wait for about 30 to 40 minutes, and there's a lot of people coming in and going out and looking at paperwork and scratching their heads, but not telling us anything, right? So, you know, we're all looking around, and there was 19 people on this plane. Like, this is, I don't know, A330 or whatever they're called, but, you know, probably would carry 150 people. There's 19 of us on this plane. And so eventually they say they will be getting us off 5 at a time, and we're to make our way to the bus. And before we get in the bus, you will see your luggage, and you will put the luggage in the bus. So it's like, okay, so I'm actually first off. So I go down the stairs, and there is all the luggage sitting on the tarmac. It was quite surreal, actually. So I grabbed my luggage, and I've just recently had an operation. So one of the reasons I didn't want to take much luggage is because, you know, I didn't want to do myself more damage. So I had to put it on. No one could help me. And then we jump on the bus. So, you know, this is day one. We were the first, we were the guinea pigs to go through this whole Macau government experience. Anyway, so we get in there, get to the hotel, and we have to check in. And this was the bizarre thing. We had to put our ID up against the glass, so facing them, and then this bit of paper up against the glass facing them. So there was no contact with the individual behind the desk. And then they printed out a ticket, and that ticket was your room number. So my room number was 808, and I'm very lucky. I'm happy with 808. And so off we go. One person per lift, go into the lift and into our room. And it doesn't dawn on you until all of a sudden the doors slam shut. And then that's it. It's like, this is how prisoners feel? I don't know. Like, this is 21 days. I'm not going anywhere for 21 days.
When you say you couldn't go anywhere, could you not even go into the hotel corridor, for example?
No, absolutely not. So the rooms, it was quite small. There was 2 single beds, a little desk, a fridge under the desk. There was 2 windows which faced the Macau runway, so at least I had a view. And the bath over the shower type thing. So it wasn't big at all. And then a little sign on the window saying, do not open. There was a lock and a sticker, do not open. If any damage, you will be liable. So, you know, no fresh air, nothing like that. And yeah, so that was my home for the next 21 days.
And what about the food?
Yeah, okay, so this is, for me, I recently changed my diet to vegan, and that presented a bit of a challenge as well, because my wife, who's on the ground in Macau, was ringing up because, it was last minute, them changing to the Treasure Hotel and trying to communicate to them that, my husband needs a vegan diet. They heard VEG, and so that's vegetarian, which pretty much is similar, So my wife proceeded to make sure that I would have the right food. So she was fantastic all the way through it. But you only had a window from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. to drop that food off. So with the help from our employee, Rose, and my wife, they coordinated runs every day to drop me food off. Saying that, like the food, and I think I put some photos on my social media, it consisted of, in the morning, 2 boiled eggs, a white bread with some lettuce and maybe, if I was lucky, some tomato, and a sickly sugary drink. So that was it. So I didn't have any of that. But we managed to smuggle in, because there was no microwave or anything like that, so we managed to smuggle in a toaster oven. So one of the big rewards, the things I looked most excited about every morning was me putting my toast in my toaster oven, a cup of tea in the middle of the room, and so I could have my peanut butter and honey on it. And that was one of the pleasures that I had every single day. It was probably, that's how I'd start off the day. It was pretty exciting. And it took about 35 minutes to cook the toast. So
how did you spend your days? What did you do?
Yeah, so the days were, obviously, I've been, Scientific Games, who I work for, have been super supportive. So I've been working throughout my time back home in Australia, and I continued to work in the hotel room. Wi-Fi was a challenge, and they did stipulate that before we did go in. And so I had to keep ringing my work saying I've run out of data on my phone. So then they'd bring me a Wi-Fi, another 60 gig. And it wasn't too long till that data rang and they'd bring me another 60 gig. So whilst it was a challenge, I was certainly able to do work, and I had to excuse myself from a lot of videos because of the data that was churning. But so I'd wake up in the morning, have my toast and my cup of tea, and then generally settle down and have business meetings, because I'd do a lot of work with the US. That'd be very early. And then Macau would come online. And so, generally full-on days. But, through obviously the wonderful world of what we know is now Zoom and Teams, things that we didn't know about 18 months ago, we're obviously able to carry on with our business.
Right. Did you have any opportunity for exercise?
As I said, I was recovering from, and this is my excuse, Sharon, I was recovering from surgery. So I got my wife to bring in, I'm a very keen golfer, but I've got certainly some mental issues with that game. But she brought in a club, and I brought some plastic balls with me before I left. So I just chipped around, and I put a cup in the corner of the room and tried to chip into the cup. So that was probably my only exercise. I do. Some of my friends that have come here have broken almost world records whilst they're in quarantine, but I certainly wasn't going to do any of that.
So what would be your top tip for anybody who has to travel and has to do this?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I only did it out of necessity. I had no choice. And there's obviously people who are doing it for that reason. So, the biggest thing that helped me get through it was, my mental health, maintaining positive way of looking at things, controlling things that you can control. Like, I have no control of being in this apartment. They're not going to ring me up magically and say, you know what, Jim, we're going to let you out in 10 days, because it's not going to happen. So you've got to understand that there are things that are beyond your control that you're set with. So I just used a lot of things like social media. So I created videos, which I think got a lot more reach than I anticipated whilst I was in quarantine. And so using my creative mind to come up with different ways to, express myself. I love music. And I love certain songs. I love a bit of karaoke. So, that's one way that got me through each day, because I wrote different days for different ways I was feeling, and making sure that I deliver almost one of those every day. And the reach that got and the feedback I got really put a smile on my face. And then, so that gave me some joy in the fact that I was keeping people entertained, and that motivated me to keep on doing it. So I would say go in there with a mindset and remain positive, because, quite often you think, what else can I do? Like early on, I said, well, I'm just going to go out and get a coffee without even thinking. Went to open the door, and it's like, you can't go out and get a coffee. I can't leave this place. So, reality sets in pretty quickly. So you've got to be able to deal with things like this. And streaming some amazing TV shows, some YouTube motivational documentaries, or everything like that. Like, I could recommend some great TV shows, some great docos, just throughout because of my time in this space. But having the support from family and friends, always checking in on you, that was a great help to me. And also using the time to communicate to them and people that, have reached out to me through the social media. So keeping your mind active, and just the days honestly went quick, because all of a sudden it's dinner time. And that was the thing, they'd ring you every time the food would get left at the front door, just in case, if you didn't answer, maybe they thought you'd escaped or something like that. So the days went very quick. I will tell you, they did talk about how everything was going to be automated. The first day, the phone rang and there was a message to say, there is a robot at your door for your temperature. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went out, and there was this robot at the door, and it had like an iPad as a face. And I was trying to get my face into the screen to get my temperature, and it wasn't working. And I'm saying to the guy who's, looking after our floor, this isn't working. He couldn't really help me. Anyway, I eventually worked out, because I had my mask on, I took it off, and then it's gone ding, basically, thank you very much, and off it went down the hallway. And that was it. Never saw it again. So that was day one. I thought, I'll get some video of this and play around with this, but it never came back. So, and that's the thing, like, these guys are obviously learning as they go, because also the checkout experience was a little bit of a challenge for them. But, they're doing all they can to obviously keep COVID out of Macau, and so far so good. I mean, I think there's a couple of cases today, but generally this is the safest place in the world to be right now. I honestly went quick. If you'd ask me, would I do it again? Absolutely not. But certainly I feel a better person for having that experience.
Cool. I mean, obviously, you just mentioned, yes, Macau is one of the safest places to be, and it has come at a tremendous cost. How are you and your colleagues dealing with it at SG? Because, I mean, normally you would have traveled and met clients.
Yeah. Honestly, Sharon, we're busier than ever. Like, there's a lot of thought going into how we're taking on 2022, and obviously 2021 is in the rearview mirror. Did very well considering, but obviously thinking about the challenges for businesses. And there's a quote, from the greatest growth we achieve our greatest growth from the darkest times. And I think that is not only to personally as individuals, but to businesses as well, and how we pivot and how we change how we do things. And obviously platforms like this are, the norm now. And our meetings are a lot more efficient, succinct, and we're getting greater results out of these meetings dealing with customers in this manner, because, we don't have the ability to sit down, talk to them face to face, have, a long period of time. It's like you've got half an hour. So this is what we're trying to achieve, and these are the action items, and then you're following up straight away.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jim. Great to hear your views and your experiences. Thank you for joining us today. Please join us every Friday for our interviews with thought leaders in Asia's gaming industry.